Okay, so this is the illuminated lettering project. I have all my details on here. I have tons of small little details. Things are kind of tied together with my little swirls and frogs, and they're not just all frogs, but I have lily pads, I have flies, trees, that kind of thing. So if you remember right on the illuminated lettering, they use something called gold leaf. And gold leaf is like literally flakes of gold, really, really thin, that they applied to their artwork. Now, obviously, we're not going to be doing real gold, but I have some gold tempera paint here that I'm going to use. And I want for sure that your letter to be gold. And this is going to have to be pretty neat. And find a small enough paintbrush so you can get down into the little cracks and do the details that you want. You're going to paint the letter gold, and then find some different areas that you maybe would like gold besides just the letter. It's going to depend each of you on what it is you want to do, but we want to add a little bit of that gold here and there around your picture to kind of tie things in together for the composition. So I'm thinking on mine, I don't know. I think for sure I'm going to make the path that the little flies fly on. I'm going to make those gold. And then maybe my lily pads gold. I'm not sure. So anyway, I'm not going to take the time to show you how to paint all the letter, but of course I would paint all the letter. After you get the details around there, if you want to use a little bit bigger brush to fill in, you can. But this part shouldn't take you a real long time. But I have some really tiny details around the little fingers of the frog here hanging off the middle of the F. Okay, so on top of that, then I'm going to make sure, even though lily pads are supposed to be green, I think I'm going to make mine gold because I have a few spread around here and it'd be just enough to kind of tie it together. So I'm going to make the lily pads gold, leave the flowers in the center so that I can color those in. I'm going to have plenty of green anyway, probably with my frogs, so I don't have to have green lily pads too. So I'll add this in, and all of those, and the lily pads. And then I'm just going to take and make little swirly lines over the top of my fly paths, I guess you'd call them. So I think that'd look kind of fun. So I will shut this off, finish my gold, and then I'm going to come back and show you the next part with colored pencil. Okay, so I went ahead, got all my gold painted. I even ended up adding in just a little bit of a path of a fly here because when I got done, I thought, it looks like there isn't enough gold on this side. So I added a little bit in. It dries fairly fast, so that's not a problem. I do want you to remember with the gold to make sure you wash your brushes out really, really well. That gold dries more like acrylic and it will ruin brushes. So anyway, my next step then is to color. And as I'm coloring, I want you guys to think about value change within your shape. So I'm going to start down here with this little frog just because I don't want to put my hand in any wet paint. I have a couple of different greens that I can use here. I should have probably got a yellow for their bellies or whatever. I don't know. Doesn't have to be realistic either, but notice I'm coloring really hard right there. And then I'm going to lighten up as I get to the top. I want you to really think about value change within shapes. And I don't want to see scratchy marks from your colored pencil. Once you guys get, every year that you get older, honestly, I ask that you color a little bit better, smoother, less lines, and more value contrast. So I'm kind of darkening around his eyes here a little bit just to make them pop. I'm going to get a little bit lighter here in the middle because that's where the light's going to be touching things. And so that looks a little more interesting that way. And then right down under here, I'm going to do this. And then he has little legs sticking up. I guess it's a he, I don't know. I'm going to kind of outline those just because there's a lot of room in there. I don't typically love it when you just outline the outside edge of something and leave it the rest. But in this case, that's really tiny. Maybe I want his, I'm going to make his orange, his little belly area orange here. Okay, so I have a couple of different greens. I'm hoping that will work. Well, that tree frog could be red or something. He doesn't have to be green. I'm going to skip over here to this little frog, I guess. So anyway, dark to light. You probably don't need to see me color another frog, I guess. Oh, I could add. Here's his little hand. Anyway, you can kind of see how I'm going to do that. And then from the outside edge, I would say that you're probably going to want to have a background color in this area. So maybe I want to use pink. I'm going to go dark up here, kind of light in the middle, long oval shapes. and then dark along the edges here. So value contrast. Value contrast just means going from dark to light within the shapes would be awesome. Okay. So nice and neat. And everything is just going to look so much more interesting if we have these value contrasts within shapes. So I don't want any boring coloring, just everything all the same. Instead, go as light as your pencil can possibly go by not pushing down very much, and as dark as your pencil can possibly go by pushing as much as you can. Okay, then I'll have these little flies to color. You don't need to watch me color everything. I just wanted to give you an example of that. Our last and final step will be to use a black Sharpie and outline. And depending on how much detail you have, you may want to use a very fine point, like the extra fine point Sharpies too. This will kind of finish things off here. So this will be our last step, and then they'll be finished. So I will leave you to it, and you can see my final project when I'm done.